Hey, my friends, welcome to week number 5 in the Becoming Challenge. We're talking about how to become who God is making us to become. Philippians 3:13 and 14. I'm going to look at my notes over to this side here for a little bit, but Philippians 3:13 and 14 is the verse that we're basing this off of. And that is where Paul is talking about forgetting the things that are behind and reaching forth unto the things that are before, pressing towards the mark, as if it were a race, as if it were something that he was reaching for with his whole intent of his being, pressing forward towards the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the Olympics and lots of things like that happening in these days. And this is that idea, giving it all you've got, reaching for that prize, the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. And that begs the question, what is your calling? And that's where we're coming up with our God-sized goal, our God possible, not impossible, but our God possible goal for this quarter. And that is why you are here. So we are in week number 5. We've completed weeks 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you haven't seen those videos, go back and find them down in the comments section of this video and plug in and watch those. You can see we are once again in a different place, and that is because our family is still traveling across the United States. This week we are lucky enough to be with some of our extended family. So apologize for the lighting. We're doing the best that we can and super glad to have you with us here. Week number 5, we're in month 2 of 3. This is a 90-day challenge, which means we're entering the middle portion of this challenge. We've had the first month, which was all about refining our perspective. Now we're really in growth phase. And this is where the bulk of the work is going to be done both internally and spiritually and outwardly toward reaching those God possible goals for this quarter. And so as we do always, I want to start with a little bit of internal journaling, or if you will, our becoming summary for the week. And here's where I want you to think about the things that you are leaving behind. You know, he said, forgetting those things which are behind. And in order to do that, you have to be in a place now where the behind, the past, no longer defines you. In order to leave them behind, in order to not be defined by them, to not be held back by them, you have to be in a place where you've let that go. And we're going to talk a lot about letting go this week, because I believe that it's something that is necessary. It is something that can be difficult, and it's something that can actually be a mourning process. And this surprised me the first time that I went through a process like this. It really took me by surprise that there was mourning involved in leaving behind who I used to be and moving forward, in leaving behind some of the relationships that were not a part of the future vision God was calling me to be, in leaving behind some of the titles and the positions, some of the responsibilities that I'd had in the past. But those are not going to define future Katie. And I didn't expect that there would be a mourning process. And so you may have felt some of that this week, and I want this to be an encouragement to you. You know, there's a quote that is supposedly was said by Billy Graham, a great preacher. He said that when wealth is lost, nothing is lost. When health is lost, something is lost. When character is lost, all is lost. And I think that it's important for us to realize as we grow and change, changing who we are becoming and growing into who God is making you to be is about refining your character. It's not about losing it. It's about refining it. And in all the things that we end up stripping away, just like the pruning of a bush so that it can bear more fruit, God is pruning us in a way so that our character can be refined, so that it can shine more of himself through us. And does that mean it doesn't hurt? Not necessarily. I'm sure the bush hurts when it's pruned. When we have losses, there can be an absolute mourning there, but it's necessary. And we have a God who walks us through it. And so this month number 2 in this challenge is going to be very different from the first month. Very different for you. Very different in terms of your growth. You are different. You're a completely different person than you were 30, 35 days ago. Your goals are going to look very different, perhaps. You may have started this with a certain God possible goal in mind that may be totally different now based on how much God has grown you, the new information he's provided, the new resources that he's brought to light. He may be taking a completely different direction, and I want you to know that's okay. Following God, walking with God can be a very fluid journey. And I want you to know that things are going to look very different. You may feel different. And I know for me, in the middle of this challenge, similar to another quarter when I did a challenge like this with Dr. Ben Hardy, right here in this messy, what we call the messy middle, I really found myself challenged. I felt like I was sort of floating through it. I felt like I was mourning the things that I knew I was leaving behind and choosing to leave them behind, intentionally choosing to make that separation, and yet mourning those things that had been familiar, mourning those things that had been the expected in order to reach for the things that were not so sure. The new things are usually scary, or we fear new things because we don't know them. We haven't experienced them yet. We don't understand them yet. That can be a scary place to be. In this middle space, we begin to question our assumptions. We're questioning our goals. Is this really what I should be working for? Is there something else here that I'm missing? And then we begin to question what we're doing, because what we've been doing is not going to work if we want to 10x this thing. We've got to have a different system, a different plan. And so questioning what is necessary to become that future person that God is growing you into, to achieve that vision that God has put in your heart. It may feel like no progress is being made, like you're just sort of held in this sort of limbo state right now. I know for me, it really was mourning. I was mourning the things that had been. And, God showed me, it's okay to mourn those things. However, you're still the person that did that. You're still the person that held that position, or that accomplished that thing, or that held that title. That was part of me making you into who you are becoming. That was a part of the process. And so, yes, it's okay to mourn it, but don't spend a lot of time there. That is now in the past, and you can let that go. Once you have this God possible goal, almost nothing you're doing right now will seem like it's working, because God is creating new things. There's a verse in scripture, it talks about God creating new springs in the desert, springing forth things, creating things that did not exist, speaking into existence the things that did not exist. That's who our God is. And that's what he's doing for you. And this messy middle can feel a little funny right now, but I want you to hang in there. I want you to hang in with it. The past and the future are both tools for better operating in our present. The past and the future are both tools for better operating in our present. And I want you to understand that. We're going to start off today by answering some questions, as we usually do. And this is sort of like a one-pager, or a becoming summary, if you will, but it's going to be about your whole last month. And so I want you to think about weeks 1 through 4, and I want you to answer these questions. Maybe you want to stop the video and do it, however you want to do that. What did you accomplish, number 1? Just start listing it. Do a brain dump of all the things that you accomplished, because we don't often celebrate them as much as we should. We tend to get things done, cross them off the list, and move on to the next thing, right? Focus on what's not done instead of what is done. But let's take a moment and celebrate. Have some gratitude. Thank the Lord for what he's allowed us to accomplish in the last month. Then I want you to ask yourself, what did I learn in the last 4 weeks? What have I learned? What has God taught me through the experiences that he has walked me through in these last 30 days? The third question is, what are you most proud of? What are you most proud of? And not proud as in a look at me, pat me on the back kind of thing, but what are you excited that God allowed, like it just thrills you that you were able to do that God allowed you to do that. And I'll tell you what it is for me. Here's a glimpse at my one-pager so I can show you that I'm doing the work too. But for me, the thing that I am most proud of is that God has given my husband and I the ability to create a business that truly is in service of our life and calling. That we get to take the time with our kids, to have those hugs and cuddle moments, that we've created a business that allows us the opportunities and the finances to be able to do the things that are going to make the memories with them while they're here. I only have so many days with my kids. My oldest, we just dropped off at college last week. That was one of my accomplishments for last month. And so we're in this stage where I realize that time is precious. And thank the Lord that he has allowed us to have a business that gives us the opportunity, that gives us the time, that gives us the money to be able to take time for the activities that make those memories, to be able to do the special things, to be able to just have the time to visit family and sit on the front porch and tell stories and sit and cuddle on the couch or talk about their experiences and answer their questions. That's what I'm most proud of, is that God has given us a space to be able to pour into our children in that way. And that is a special thing. And he's also given us the platform and the ability to be able to help other families design a business that does that for them. We get to speak next week at an entrepreneur retreat in Western North Carolina. I'm so excited that God has given us the opportunity to bring these people together and pour into them so that with what he's taught us, they can also learn to create a business that gives them something that will serve their life and their calling and what they're supposed to be doing as well. And it's just, I used to pray for days like this. I'm so, so grateful for where God has us right now. And then finally, in this becoming summary for month number 1, we're going to restate your God possible goal for this quarter. We refer to them as Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, wherever you are in this year. What is that God possible goal for this quarter? And if it's changed, that's okay. From here to the end of the quarter, what is that God possible goal? Let's restate that again. So go ahead and take some time if you need to and turn the video off and go do that and then come back to us. All right, so then we're talking about learning new things and what kinds of things can we set aside in order to refine our character and who God is making us to be. And there's this quote by Adam Grant that says, intelligence is both a skill of learning a new thing, but also the skill of unlearning old things. And I believe that a truly wise person will recognize that maturity is not just about continuing to learn and put into practice, but true maturity comes in having the discernment to know what is necessary to unlearn and relearn. And that is some of what we're doing here, is we're learning that the ways that we used to do things are not necessarily going to serve who we are becoming. We're going to have to think differently about that. And I think that for us, especially this week, we need to be thinking about what things we need to say yes to and what things we need to say no to. Because I believe that as we refine something, we're taking away. If you look at the way they used to refine precious metals by putting precious metals into the hot fire, right? So that all of the impurities would float to the top and could be scooped off and done away with, leaving the most precious metal behind. That was a purifying process where things were taken away. Almost every instance that you see where things are made better, there are things that are removed in order to do that. And so I want to challenge you with that this week. What needs to be removed in order for you to become who you are becoming, who God is calling you to be in a bigger way? One of my friends a couple of years ago read the book, The Best Yes by Lisa Turkhurst. I didn't read it, but I remember that she was talking about her saying that we can say yes all the time, but it's not going to make us Wonder Woman. It's going to make us a worn out woman. We've got to be able to say no in order to say yes to the best things. And that is this idea that even the secular world recognizes this. There's a quote by Warren Buffett, who's considered one of the greatest business minds of all time, right? And he said that the difference between successful people and very successful people is that the very successful people say no to almost everything. And so even the world recognizes that there's a necessity to say no and to protect your time and your energy so that you can put that into the place that is the most beneficial for you. And saying no is a stewardship practice. It's a stewardship ability to be able to steward well what you know you're supposed to work on. Saying no is necessary. Now, we can sit here and whine all day long about what I have to say no to. Oh no, I have to say no to that in order to serve God. And I have very little patience with people who do that, let me just say, because I have sacrificed. I have been on the mission field. I have gone without all kinds of things that I won't name here, but I don't think we're to whine about that because God walked us through each one of those situations. And so this is not about whining or begrudgingly letting go of things. It's about letting go because I know God has something better. Letting go of what is not the best so that I can delve into the best. Letting go so that I can give thanks for his best. Psalm 84:11 says, "The Lord God is a sun and a shield. The Lord will give grace and glory. No good thing will he withhold from them who walk uprightly." We can expect that God will give, that he will replenish, that he will restore, that he will give good gifts to those who are walking uprightly. But the walking uprightly is a prerequisite. And I believe that walking uprightly often has to put into practice the discernment to say no, the stewardship to say no to things. And so, most people, when they're thinking about making progress in an area, are going to add things. If 1 is good, 2 is better, 3 has got to be even better than that, a friend of mine is likely to say. And it cracks me up because we all know that that's not necessarily the case. If 1 is good, 2 is better, 3 is even better, not all the time. And a lot of times what we have been doing is not like, we don't need to just add more of that. Sometimes we've got to completely flip what we're doing, completely switch, completely change how we're thinking about things and the strategy with which we're doing it. Most people want to add things. Like, if we're doing this, let's just do more of that. But that's only going to get you that much better. If you really want to excel, fast progress means you're going to have to lay things aside, just like Paul said in Philippians. You're going to have to lay aside the things that beset you so that you can focus, just like getting that dross out of the way so that the pure metal can be refined into its purest form. You've got to begin to cut away the things that are weighing you down, cut away the things that are not working, cut away the things that are not a part of the future self of who God is calling you to do. Most of what you are doing now, I dare say, is not necessary to the you are becoming. Future you, future Katie, what does that look like? Would she be doing this? Would she be making this decision? Would she be doing this task? Or would that be given to someone else? And if it would be given to someone else, then why don't I start doing that now and start becoming the person that I was becoming? Does future Katie have a podcast? Then no. Then why would I be having one now? And so things like that. I had this down 3 months ago. I wrote down, future Katie does not drink pop or soda or whatever you want to call it. In fact, let me know below what you call it. I'd love to hear, because it's so funny hearing what people call it all over the world. But I said, future Katie does not drink pop. And when I focus on that, it reminds me to not drink water. I've been almost a month now without drinking any pop, and I had some today, and that was so sickeningly sweet that I didn't even have a taste for it anymore, didn't even have a desire for it anymore. I took a couple of sips and put it down. And so what is it that is not part of the future you? And maybe it's as simple as not drinking pop. Maybe it is health related for you, and that is the future self that God is calling you to, but maybe it's something else. How can you begin to be that person today? If future you does it this way, or future you does not do it this way, how do I begin today to make those decisions? And so thinking about the goal, thinking about what is necessary to say no to, what is necessary to opt out of, to uncommit to, if you will. A lot of us have trouble saying no. We want to please everyone, right? Recovering people pleaser. And yet it's so important for us to have the time to be able to rest, to be able to walk with our God, to be able to know what He is calling us to, and to be able to step into that and say yes to the most important things in our present. And to do that, we've got to start exercising that stewardship of the ability to say no. And so the homework this week, as we think about wrapping all of this up and what you want to pray over and have God work in your heart with this week, is thinking about that God possible goal and who He's calling you to be. Restate that goal. And then what is keeping you from the goal? Is there something that you're doing right now that you don't need to be doing in order to reach that goal? Is there something that needs to be pruned from your life? What can be removed from your life that doesn't help you reach that goal? If future you doesn't drink Coke, then let's stop drinking Coke. If future you doesn't gift your services, doesn't give them all away, then let's stop doing that now. If future you doesn't say yes without checking the boxes and making sure it's a best yes, then let's start doing that. If future you doesn't do this particular task in your business, let's find someone else to do that if it's absolutely necessary. What is it that you need to stop doing, uncommit to, prune from your life or your business this week in order to become who God is calling you to become? And this can come with some disappointment. I want you to be prepared for that. You saying no, you uncommitting from some things may disappoint some people. But we're here to get God's approval, not man's approval. You're here for His calling, what He's calling you to, not what social media says you should or shouldn't be doing. And so be sure that you've got that in line, that you are in alignment with your assignment from Him as you choose what you're going to prune out from. But don't be afraid and don't be taken off guard if it disappoints some people. Be prepared to be strong. Be prepared to lean into what God is calling you to do and be prepared to be obedient with that. And I'm praying for you. You can sign up at the link below if you're not already, so that you can get the homework assignment by mail and the instructions for how to return that to us. We are giving some participation prizes for that. And even those who are watching this that are part of our membership, I want you to also participate in that. If you want information about our membership for Christian entrepreneurs, you can also find that information with the comments of this video. And we would love to have you join us in our Doing Business with God as well. So we'll see you next week for week number 6. And I look forward to seeing your homework come in as well. God bless you.